2 minutes to wrap up. 2 minutes to wrap up and we come back to our sessions. Let's wrap up in 2 minutes. We are back in session. Let me request that we all take up our seats and we get back in session. Our friends who are outside, kindly come back inside and we get moving. If you're still grabbing something to eat and drink, kindly carry it with yourself to your table. Please come back and then let's have this done in the shortest time possible. Now, while we are here, we're interacting. I want to bring this to attention that our Wi-Fi, when you go to the Wi-Fi icon, look for Silver Springs Hotel, and the password is silver at 2019. The password to the Wi-Fi is silver at 2019. That is one. Two, WhatsApp is down. So a couple of you, you're sending messages, they're not moving. It's a global issue, right? So for us on Twitter, we already know about that. So WhatsApp is down in case you're trying to send a message and it ain't moving. Just stay calm. Their tech team is doing what they can to bring it back. Then secondly, friends in the East African region, I want again to caution us. Let's avoid as much as we can physical contact. So you're seated on the table, but I've seen a couple of people hugging, shaking hands. Hey. Eh? Be very careful. Kindly, for the purpose of this summit, let's not hug people. If you see someone, you say, "Minemiwona ndio jambo," that will be enough. Let's avoid huggings, and in case you feel uncomfortable or you feel a little unusual, we have the Red Cross. It's outside there. The Red Cross team is around here. They are very available in case of any emergency, in case you feel a little bit of headache or a little bit of unbecoming temperatures. Kindly just walk to the Red Cross team that is on the outside and they will take care of you. But for now, just look at your neighbor. Let's try this. Just look at your neighbor and smile. Just look at them and smile. Look at your neighbor and smile. Don't hug them. Don't high five. Just look at them and smile. Let's try that. Look at your neighbor on the left. Look at your neighbor on the left and smile. Now look at your neighbor on the right and smile. That's how we are going to communicate here. In the interest of health, That's how we are going to communicate. So allow me, we're going to have a panel discussion. Coming up, we're having a panel discussion. Let me request my panelists to come through. And this first discussion, to those who are online, the first discussion is entirely about the market rewards in terms of the agroecology business. So let me welcome Beryl Oyer, the Managing Director of Bonic, to come up here. Let's clap for her as she comes. Beryl Oyer, please come forward. And she'll be followed by Ivan Mandela, of the Director of Shona Investments. Mandela, let's clap for him as he comes. And Felicity, a young entrepreneur that secured funding. Please come up here, Miss Felicity. Please have a seat. We should have had another person, Arthur Nkusi, but she's not here, given to a couple of factors. But we're going to work with these three here. You can see all of them where they are? Okay. So each one of you has 5 minutes to give us a submission about that particular topic. And thereafter, I'll pose 1 or 2 questions and we shall proceed. Let me start off with you, Beryl. Tell us about the successful business acceleration in the agroecology business. Yeah.
No, it's not comfortable. Yeah. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, so my name is Beryl Oyer, and I'm the Managing Director for BOP Innovation Center in East Africa. Thank you for allowing me to be in this space, Friends of Agroecology. Just to quickly say that success is a journey, and for us, working in partnership with the NFP to run the business accelerator for YALTA, we saw that there were many things that drive success for the businesses as we worked with these young people. And the key factor is, the drive that the young people had to bring agroecological products or services back into the communities. So that in itself is a success, other than all the other supporting things that we talked about that would give them a better environment to work with their businesses. So I don't know how long you want me to go.
You have 5 minutes. You can go deep. Keep digging. You have 5 minutes for that.
All right, good. So in terms of some of the best practices that we saw working with young people, for us is that the continuous, interactions that we give the young people. So we prepare them first to see that they are ready with their agroecological business models, but there's also continuous interactions with different stakeholders to make them succeed. So there's the preparation bit of it, but then there's the continuous hand-holding to keep having them ready. The other thing that we also saw as a best practice is really working closely with the local expertise, so looking at people who are in the countries that could handhold the businesses, to help them look at, for example, things like their financial modeling, thinking about other costs. When you're talking about costs, for example, as a business person, you're not just looking at the yields. There are other things that also come into play. It could be productivity, for example. And when you're looking at productivity, it could be the cost of land, it could be the cost of labor. So working very closely with these local experts to bring all these intricacies into place so that businesses that are looking at agroecological practices are able to bring back all these nuances. Remember,
Beryl, can I interfere with you a bit? Sound, can we have her sound a little bit up? Because I feel her struggling to strain her projections. Can we have better sound for her, please? Is it good enough? All right, carry on, Beryl.
All right, great.
Better.
Yes. So I've been struggling all this time anyways. So I was trying to talk about, we are not talking about conventional businesses, like we've had many of the experts here say, agroecology in itself is something that needs time. So if we are talking with businesses and we are trying to show them success in this sense, then you'll really have to think about this. The other thing that we saw, as maybe I can look at one of the challenges that we saw working with the businesses, is that the businesses, there's potential, yes, with the businesses trying to bring profitable, business models in the market. But the challenge is that they're not ready for investment, for example, yeah? So we see that there are so many funders out here in the market, but then they are interested in agroecological businesses, but the business in themselves are not mature enough to get the large kind of funding that is needed. So then how do we bridge this gap? So for us, of course, supporting or working in programs like YALTA that we worked with, it is good to have this kind of bridge funding available, but then continuously expose these businesses to funding so that in 2 years, 3 years' time, they have shown a track record that is then realistic or gives them enough exposure and that funders are interested in the business. We saw very many funders interested in the businesses, but they could not put down money because they felt that the businesses were not ready for that. Yeah, so I think in a nutshell, that's what I can talk about here.
Thank you so much. Round of applause for Beryl there. She broke it down. Mandela, when you hear Beryl say all that, to me as a young entrepreneur in agribusiness, I'm looking at the access to credit financing. And given that you're Director of Investment, Shona, how best can we create scalable agribusiness models that can make us bankable in the framework of business?
Thank you, Andrew. My name is Ivan Mandela. I work with Shona. We do business advisory training for SMEs with a particular emphasis on access to capital, revenue, and profitability. So from my experience, giving capital but also accelerating businesses, specifically in the agriculture sector, we think that it's important that, of course, businesses have access to capital, and that's what we are trying to do through Shona Capital by giving these concessional loans. But once you've given the capital, the investor is looking, at the end of the day, it's about how much growth you're able to achieve. And for us, that is a factor of capital, but also market, access to market, and making sure you're actually continuously acquiring customers and selling your product. Because at the end of the day, it's about the value that your product is creating for a target market or customer. And we find that a lot of businesses actually forget that. They focus on the capital. But we think that once you actually focus on the customers and grow your market and grow your revenues, then the capital comes more easily, right? And so placing emphasis on the product market fit and continuously interacting with your customers to make sure that the product you're designing are actually aligning with what the customers are looking for and aligning with the impact that you're also looking for. And so for us, in our interaction with entrepreneurs, one of the things we're emphasizing or questioning is, are these agroecological products only meant for export, right? Or only meant for the high class or high-end consumers? How do we make these products accessible for the normal Ugandan, right? Because the middle class is growing, and of course people are becoming more and more, conscious about what they eat, and that is the opportunity that we at Shona see for agroecological businesses. So while we are focusing on access to capital and providing these concessional loans, at the end of the day, and the end result for us is, how do these businesses that we are investing in actually grow their revenues, grow their customer base, because that is where the impact is, in increasing consumption of these sustainable products that we are producing through our enterprises.
Wow. Round of applause for Mandela. That was good. Felicity, you're a very lucky person. You secured the funding as a young entrepreneur. We want to understand, as the youth here in Agroecology, how best can we have access to funding when it gets to agroecology business?
Thank you so much. I'm Felicite Nayinganyiki. I come from Rwanda.
Nice to meet meet you. Nice to meet you. Round of applause for Rwanda. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much. I'm an entrepreneur. I work in compost making through waste recycling. I'm going to give you a little bit the story of my business and then tell you how we can access finance through agroecology businesses.
Felicity, if you can do it in 5 minutes, it's all go.
Thank you. After identifying that in my living town, more than 12 tons of waste are collected every week and deposited on the site without treatment, which causes to relocate the site every 2 years. I come with the idea of how can I use those wastes to produce fertilizer that farmers can use to increase their agriculture production, also by saving the environment. Also to raise the awareness of farmers about how they can use those wastes in their daily agriculture activities. I started this business by producing 100 tons of fertilizer per season, but now I reach 300 tons of fertilizer per season.
Guys, you clap for that. You clap for that.
People think that it is a kind of help, but it is a business, because now we can have a turnover of $10,000 per year from that business. We wish also to increase our turnover and reach more than 100,000 in 2025. Based on how I get finance through this business, as I am on the platform of agroecology in Rwanda, I hear the news that World Resources Institute have a call for proposal for land restoration project. And then I make application. They are selecting my business. They are saying what I should complete, like to have a business plan, to have an account, a registered company. I prepare the requirement and then submit. Then I'm qualified to have funding. I obtained $5,000 to increase the production of my business. After obtaining the funding, my production capacity was increased 10% from where I was before getting the funding. Thank you.
Wow. Ladies, clap for Felicity again. Her story is very interesting. And this turnover, you've met Felicity, in how long has this been done? You've done this in how many years?
I started my business since 2019.
Wow. Well done. Coming back to you, Beryl here, we want to understand how has YALTA supported the youth to make the markets reward the agripreneurs and through the financial access and accelerating the businesses and the use of social media?
Thank you. So yes, so for the business accelerator, let me start by saying, do markets reward, businesses in agroecology? Yes, indeed. And why do we say so? Because now there's increased demand for healthy products in our communities. We see more people needing or asking for products that have been produced with less synthetic fertilizers or chemicals. People want to go back to indigenous kind of feeding. So in that sense, even working with businesses to try and help them establish a business case, the answer is that yes, that the markets would reward. But in the accelerator, like you've mentioned, one of the things for us, BOP Innovation Center as an organization, what we try to do when we work with the businesses to help them craft socially viable and commercially viable business models is that we help them look at 5 things that are very important in their businesses. One, and we call it the 5 checks of innovation. What is the innovation, for example? What impact is it creating in the community? And then, is it desirable? Do consumers actually want that product? And I think that is the biggest thing for any business, not just an agroecological business, to establish that there is actually desirability for their products in the communities. And then when you're talking about markets and markets rewarding these businesses, it is because when you look at different segments of the market, you are able to establish an accessible market that would reward these efforts. Like we have said, it's not conventional kind of businesses, so it's different. But in the understanding and linking customer base with the producers of agroecological products, then in the end, there's the reward in these kind of businesses. About social media, that was the question. For us, not only social media that we talk about, but to encourage young people in business to leverage on digital platforms and e-commerce platforms, because this also helps with reach. It's a marketing channel, it's a distribution channel that can help you reach the actual customer base that you have established. So yes, social media as part of one of the digital platforms is very important, and leveraging on e-commerce platforms is also very important to help make your products accessible to a wider market. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Coming to you, Mandela, what are some of the key gaps that we're seeing with regards to achieving access, market access for the youth-led agroecological, that is the agroecological businesses? Those few gaps possibly you've identified, and we need to see them and how best we can fix them.
Yeah, I think, of course, one of them is financing, because the market doesn't make sense if you don't have financing to develop the right product, and that's one of the things we are sort of addressing. But once you have the financing, like I mentioned, I think we've seen that businesses are struggling to actually define their markets and customer, which is the first step, right, to accessing a market. It is having enough clarity of who your target customer is. So we find that businesses actually develop products with a very broad definition of, of the customer, and that makes it challenging for them to actually, go to the market and sort of have that initial penetration. So I think it is very important, and actually when we are investing, it's one of the things we emphasize. We try to make sure we have clarity of the value proposition you're creating, and whether, like she said, actually the customer's desire, right? And that value proposition matches their needs. Because once that is clear, for us, that is like 50% of investment readiness, right? You have a product, you have defined your market, then the rest of the things we think, are things we can actually address. So we then start to talk about teams, whether you have the right team to actually execute, because it's having, we have a saying that no plan is not susceptible to the enemy. So you can have the best plan, but at the end of the day, it's about how well you execute that plan. So then we look at the team, look at the competences you have and the gaps, and then, lastly, once we have that addressed, then we look at the details of how you manage the business on the day-to-day. And one of the biggest gaps we found has to do with financial management. It actually accounts for maybe 60% of the rejections we give to businesses. Sometimes you have a very good business, but there is no accountability, there is no record keeping of any form of financial management. And we feel that once you are not tracking that data, then you're sort of also missing insights, not just in your finances, but also in your market. Because once you have these finances kept well, then you can understand who is buying your product, right? At what frequency, how much they are paying, right? How much you're spending on them. Then that helps you validate and improve what you call your unit economics. Now, unit economics basically has to do with your prices, your costs at a unit level, right? Which is very important for you to scale the business. Until you validate those unit economics, then scale doesn't make sense at all. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mandela. Felicity, as we're finalizing this conversation as a panel, what is needed to increase the access to finance for the agroecological businesses?
Thank you. There is a need to increase access to finance for agroecological project because we need to save our nature, protect our environment, and we need sustainable agriculture. If you need sustainable agriculture, you can go beyond of agroecology. There is an importance of investing in agroecological business. That is why I recommend investors, especially bankers and other, to establish specific product for agriculture project, which differ from other businesses. For example, if you give a loan to a person who wanted to invest in agriculture at 18% of interest, and you give to others who want to invest in trade, it can be benefit for who invest in agriculture because it is a seasonal project that can give you money every month. That is why I recommend that we can have a specific project or a specific grant for agriculture businesses.
Thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause. We had Ivan Mandela, the Director of Investment at Shona, and we had Miss Felicity, a young entrepreneur from Rwanda who secured the funding, and Beryl Oyer, the Managing Director of Bomb Pink. Let's give them a round of applause as we allow them to take back the seats. Thank you so much for sharing. In our next panel, as I invite the next panel to discuss a couple of issues, just remind you that our Wi-Fi password is silver at 29. Silver at 29. Open your Wi-Fi, find Silver Springs, put silver at 29. Then the other thing, just remind you, Red Cross services are available outside. In case you feel a bit of headache, a bit of, some kind of fever that you don't understand, just walk out slowly. They will attend to you. Now, we started by looking to our neighbor on the left. Now, let's look at our neighbor on the right and smile to them. Just look at your neighbor on the right and smile. That's how we're going to be talking. No physical contact. Just look at your neighbor on the right and smile. That is how we're going to go. My next panel is going to be discussing the youth adopt the AE principles. And this one is going to be, we're going to have one person online that is on research on meaningful youth, youth engagement entrepreneurship. This will be by Martha. It should have been by Martha Capezo. That will be online. But here, let me welcome David Sembajwe to come forward. Let's clap for David Sembajwe to come forward. Then from Rwanda, let's welcome Jean-Marie Ntachirutumana. He's here. Jean-Marie. Hey. This one is a mentor and a business advisor of Agriterra, Rwanda. And we're expecting Jen from Kenya, but she's not here with us. Is Jen here with us? Yeah, Jen, please come forward. Yeah, it is a Friends of Africa who is not here with us. Clap for Jen. That is Jen from Kenya. How I wish you come from Kasarani. Okiambu. They made the decision. Good to have you people here. And our conversations are going to be entirely about adoption of the agroecological skills. And I want to start off, let me start off from Rwanda. Let's start from Rwanda there. Do you mind sharing with us about the youth caravan and peer-to-peer learning as a mentor at that level?
Thank you so much. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Jean-Marie. It's a French name.
Jean-Marie.
Yes.
You bear with me.
Yeah, it's fine. Yes, Rwanda is my home. I work for Agritera Rwanda. Agritera, it's a Dutch agri-agency, specialized in cooperative development, and we also work with youth inclusion in the agribusinesses. Yes, I'm a mentor. I'm also a farmer. I do cattle farming and potato farming and small scale. Yes, I was part of the mentorship program for YALTA. It was one of inspiring program from our end, because we realized that young people, they need some other experienced people to coach them, to advise them all along their business. You can do mentorship in different ways. It can be peer-to-peer, as you are saying. You can do exchange visits, and we have some witnesses that it went well during this YALTA initiative in Rwanda, because it paid off. I'm glad that in this room we have people, young people who were coached, and now they are here sharing experience on how it
those
worked.
Those from Rwanda who went through this process, please raise up your hands.
Uh-huh.
Give them a round of applause, guys.
Yes.
Wow.
So it was really nice, and I'm glad that they can also share the experience. As a mentor, we also learned, because the mentorship trajectory, it works as a miller. You learn from the mentees, and you also, they also learn from you. So like in any other country in Africa, Rwanda population who are active in agriculture are old. So if we don't do anything to engage more young people in the agribusiness, then we'll be in trouble in the near future. But I'm glad that YALTA came and they started engaging more young people, using different approaches, including peer-to-peer learning through mentorship program. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. But I want to dig in a little bit deeper about the caravan, because you're alluding to the peer-to-peer mentorship, but I want to feel the caravan, because the caravan, I feel I'm on a journey through different districts and provinces.
Yes.
And what's that kind of experience you as a mentor?
Yeah, it was really inspiring, as I said, because if we say caravan, we are all in the same boat. So we move together, we move from one place to another. So there are people who are doing great things from their different places in the country, but they are lacking some practical knowledge, who also, that knowledge is available somewhere in the angle of the country. So what we did during the caravan trajectory, we used this kind of exchange visit. We visited different agro-businesses from different angles of the country, and people came to realize that if you don't do this kind of exchange, then you are missing something important. Yes.
Thank you so much. That is very refreshing to hear. I love caravans. I love to go around the countries, and the conversations are unique. Let's balance the representation of this conversation. From Ethiopia, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome now Adubna. Let's clap for him in the camp. From Ethiopia. The conversation needs to go, you know, just around, and we feel it how it comes through. Jen, if I should go to Kenya here, share with us the best practices of AE principles, and how are they working there?
I am Wamboi Jane from Kenya, a YALTA beneficiary. I have a short presentation.
Ready? Yeah, agriculture plugged with technology, this is where the future comes, and here we go. Jen is going to make a presentation about agriculture using technology. So we ready? All right, ready.
Okay, I'm Jen, the co-founder of Kuno Organics. I am a passionate farmer and a very good accountant. I have a background in finance, and I started Kuno Organics as a side hustle because I felt that the accounting job was very boring. Now, Kuno Organics is a demo farm based in Nairobi, Kenya, where we deal with the production of mushroom, azora, vegetables, macadamia, and macadamia value addition. The best practices that we have taken into our farm is waste recycling. This is whereby we use waste of one product to the other. We have the substrate, the mushroom growing medium. After growing it, we use it to fertilize the vegetables in our farm. Then I also do training, youthful farmers in practicing agroecology. We are based in a place that there is a lot of old trees that give us good and clean climate by having clean oxygen. And on the side, you can see we are doing a training. And then we have adapted digital training, marketing tools in our farm. This is by using Facebook to do advertisements and offloading the excess products from our farm. I have learned that you have adaptation of AE principle in our farm, environmental protection and networking. On the side, you can see us with our mentor from Kenya, Roseanne, and our other mentees. And then there's a gap that we've discovered is the knowledge gap, and then the market gap, because sometimes you don't know where to take your products due to regulations. And then there's also a funding gap because subsistence farming does not make sensible to most investors. My recommendations will be establish a knowledge hub for EE practices and attracting more impact investors to embrace the climate change. Thank you.
Wow. Clap for her. So, Jen here said accounting was boring. I love that you followed your passion. You said, this is what I want to do, and you ran after it. Semba Julie, if I can come to you there, given that you equally deal with peer-to-peer training and learning and the youth caravans, I want to hear your lenses on the ground. What do you see when you're going through these caravans? What are the youth like in terms of mindset towards the agroecological conversations?
I would say that youth normally practice agroecology, but it's because maybe due to lack of finances and lack of awareness of what is happening on the ground.
Kenyans. Clap for her. But this person was for that Ugandan man there. But you know, this is like the Mijigo Islands, Sindio?
Yes.
They have the fish, we have the water. Hi, Semba.
Yes, please. Yes, I'm Semba J. David, the proprietor of Camelot Agroecology Farm. We're very excited and glad to be part of the youth caravan that happened. And before we joined the caravan, we were running a poultry farm that had 3,000 birds. And our income stream was one, and that was eggs for sale on the farm. So the caravan opened for us opportunities, both in terms of networks, but also in terms of knowledge. With one income stream of eggs, we had the other challenge, which was the manure output, which we had failed to contain as a farm. So after the caravan, we discovered that actually there is a lot more we had left out that would actually help us earn better. So after the caravan, we came back and had to address the issue that was pending on the farm, that is the manure. that had brought problems between us and our neighbors. So apparently, after the caravan, we started doing organic fertilizer. And as the waste product from the fertilizer, we processed biomass briquettes that we sell to people for cooking, brooding on their farms. So this was a very rewarding journey to us as a farm, because it helped us dig deeper into how much we could earn per bird that we host on the farm. So to date, we have about 7 products that we do on the farm, but the 6 are courtesy of the caravan. So it has really pushed us far, and we adopt a number of principles, right from recycling, diversification, being the 2 major ones. But I would like to mention that the caravan was really a great learning experience.
Wow. Round of applause to that, comrades. I love the diversification in the times of adversity. You actually came through there. Let me go to Ethiopia there, my friend. I want to make sure that I pronounce your name rightly. So, Adugna.
Yeah.
Adugna, right?
Sure.
Okay. What is the future like for the youth who are adopting more agroecological principles? What do you see in the future?
Thank you very much. My name is Naola Dunya, and I'm from Ethiopia. I'm involving in food processing. Me and my friend Yosef and my 2 colleagues in Ethiopia, we work together. We have an initiative called Beta Blockers PLC. First, when we started this initiative, we were just trying to solve our people's problem in terms of food, especially in malnutrition. So we started to look for raw materials on how we can solve this problem, because I myself was the victim of malnutrition when I was a child. So my dream was to show my people that it's possible to solve this kind of problems, these generational problems, from locally sourced crops. But we were looking, we didn't know how. We were students, so we tried to look around. So we found YALTA, so that's how we were introduced to agroecology.
Okay.
So when we see the potential, when we see the amount of potential it has, we decided to use these raw materials to our products. So as a student, as a researcher, we decided to invest our knowledge, time, and everything we have into producing the best product that can be gained from agroecological products, because these products are healthy. We are healthy students. We want to give our people a healthy and nutritious product. So we started to look for farmers. We traveled with YALTA. We traveled by ourselves. We see the experiences. So we were very successful in prototyping with different institutions such as World Food Program, Danish Technical University in Denmark. We prototyped the best possible products from these raw materials. So the biggest challenge was to take these raw materials into product and to get them into market. So with this, with YALTA initiative, with the coaching we get, with the assistance we get, we were very successful. Nowadays, we are established. We are a PLC. We have started selling from these raw materials, and we are also working with NGOs such as SNV on how to access these products directly from farmers, organic producers, because from our production area, it's not very long. So from this, I can say that agroecology by itself has many scope. We can widen the scope by relating it with different topics such as food processing. So it is more powerful than the scope we are talking. So if we can relate with different sectors, I think it's going to be very successful, because we are producing healthy, we are making sure the environment is sustainable. So we are trying to make our world a better place by this way. And for sure, our dreams is going to come true with this path, because we have chosen the right way. We are not just choosing agroecology because of the farmers. No, we are not helping only the farmers. We are helping ourselves by giving the best possible products. We have our samples. You can join us tomorrow when we showcase, and I'm very thankful for the chance. And for your question, I think the youth should involve more on agroecology. We should work more on universities, colleges, schools on promoting agroecology, because students we can find the use easily in schools. So if we promote this by giving trainings and different ideas to the student, it might ignite something out of their mind. So this is how we also came up with this idea. So in the future, if we work with educational institutions such as universities, colleges, and schools by introducing this concept, I think many people will be interested and also work for sustainable future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Round of applause for Adjugna. Sembadwe, if I can just pick it from what he has submitted. He has given us what the future looks like, the opportunities that are glaring before us. How do we get there?
One of the ways we can get there is supporting the youth, especially in terms of resources, because apparently, on our farm, we are a community-centered farm. We have a network of about 116 youth and women who are doing poultry, but are stuck because they have too much waste on their farms. And apparently, I have 2 of them who were closed down because the community couldn't contain the smell. So if we can have centers that can process this manure into fertilizer, it would be a very big opportunity.
Let me dig deeper, just a little bit. Please, whoever is dealing with the mic, are we safe? You know, I just came from Congo a few years ago. Are we good? Sorry to those online, the sound must have been terrible there. Sembadwe, when you say resources, can you dig deep? By resources, what do you mean?
Resources, I mean specifically financial,
okay,
but also in-kind resources. It could be a processing unit. For our case, now that we are at the center of this network, we are looking at a solar drying facility that we can be able to acquire and then help these farmers process this manure into fertilizer. But you're also looking at having a pelletizer to have the finished product into ready fertilizer for the farmers to be able to utilize it. Otherwise, manure in its raw form instead causes havoc in the gardens. So that's why we have to solve the problem by helping these farmers solve their waste management problems, but also process that into finished products that can be deployed in the gardens.
Okay, yes. Thank you so much. I see, Jean, you really want to supplement on that? How do we get there?
Thank you so much. I think a lot has been said, but yeah, to be honest, if you want a sustainable agriculture, it's paramount to invest in the youth. So the only way to have sustainability in agriculture is empowering youth, not only by providing financial resources, but we have an issue in agriculture, specifically for young people, of access to land. Having said that all the people dominate the sector, we need to bring awareness for land succession planning. Because whatever we are talking about, it's going to be implemented on the ground, on the land. But these young people, most of them, they don't own the land. We really need to develop policies or bring awareness for all the people to start inheriting the land for the future generation. You know, in Africa, we have that bad practice. You can only start inheriting your land when you are like about to die. And so why can't we do it earlier? So there is a need for a kind of holistic approach for all actors in the sector to promote succession planning. That's one. A second, the best way we can support young people, these are people who are knowledgeable, they have energy, they learn quickly. So if governments and the other development organizations develop some policies that really favor them, that would be really fantastic. The third point.
That could be the last.
Yes. YALTA initiated this trajectory. But I would say you are leaving when we wanted you most. So it's not the time to leave us. It's time to continue working with us. Whoever sitting in this room and you are thinking you are leaving a youth who are here in this room, it's not the right time. It's time to find the other opportunities around and come back and we continue the journey together. By doing so, we can create a strong, active platform where we can share opportunities, not necessarily in PELUM or AgriTerap or whoever else, but opportunities all over the world where young people can grab them and start and continue what they have already started. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jean. I would request that after every of your submission, you can switch off your mic. But Jen, I'm coming to you before we go to the plenary. Let's talk about the inclusion here. The inclusion, access to land, like Jean said, in Africa, the men, because we're patriarchy, most land is owned by men. And the one that is owned by men is tilled by the women. And when the benefits come, usually they go back to the men. Sindio? Now, let's bring in the issue of inclusion. How best can we have the inclusion aspect embedded in the programming of whatever we're doing in agroecology, but not only women, even those with disabilities?
These are very good questions. And I think the first thing I would say is that we can bring inclusion by having partnership with organizations that can do funding. And this can be done by having agroecological institutions that they can do the training. And because climate change is something bothering everyone, even if you have disabilities or even if you are privileged in other ways, I would say that those institutions can help the underprivileged and the women to be included in the system. We can also look at adapting a school. You don't have to be that rich, you just need to adapt a school, introduce them to agroecology, because agroecology can happen in institutions, it can happen in very smallhold farms, and by that way we can bring about inclusion.
Thank you so much. A round of applause to my panelists here. Now the conversation comes to us. You're going to raise up your hand and you ask a question. Can we have a mic, a moving mic? Who has the mic? Yeah. There is a question here. Raise your hand. You tell us your name, your country, and your question, and to whom you're sending the question to. Those online, please keep the conversation going.
Good morning. My name is Mary Moshai from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm an irrigation consultant. I am going to, it can be answered by either of the panelists or the other panelists. One, we all understand that finance is one key major problem to us young people. And with this, when we go to the banks to seek for loans or other financial institutions, one, we are asked for security. We don't have lands, we don't have property, so we don't have security. And when we get access to these loans, they have very high interest. So to the panelists, how do you think, like we youths, the banks can have inclusive and equitable financial products that favor us, considering we are in agriculture? Our products are not like, I'm going to the supermarket, I'll take sugar, get my profits. I'll have to plant and wait for 4 months for my produce. How do you think the bank can best include us in having inclusive financial products? Thank you.
Yeah. We have another question there. Let's have another guy on the other side. We are going to come back to Nairobi.
Thank you very much. My name is Agriculture Engineer Dominic Savio from Rwanda. It's entrepreneur, of course. My question goes to the presenter from Uganda and from Kenya. The presenter from Uganda mentioned that they're in breeding things about poultry. So in these days, you are running, the whole community is running out on soybean and fish meal. So what are the alternative sources of proteins are you feeding to the chicken? The other question goes to the lady from Kenya. You are in organic farming. Could you please let us know what kind of organic soil amendments, organic biopesticides you are using to control pests or to fertilize your crops? The last question goes to the guy from Ethiopia. You are in waste, something related to waste. And the thing is just like most of us, we do mention that we have waste, but when you go to, like there's places we think they are waste, we don't find waste. So how do you collect your waste that you are using in a project? Thank you.
Aya, asante. There is another hand of a lady. There is a lady there.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you for creating this space for us to share. My question is around, I had a couple of people talking about the biofertilizers and biopesticides. And I'm very curious to know, because I know sometimes we build on the indigenous knowledge that we already have, that our farmers already have. Some of these have gone through generations, and we know that maybe they repel these insects or they kill, different pests and diseases. However, my concern is how do we integrate that indigenous knowledge with research? Just because a pesticide is, organic, it doesn't mean it cannot be poisonous. I'll just relate it back to, the herbal medicines that are advertised by all different people that, are now selling herbal medicine remedies for this and that. But we've also seen situations where people have taken herbal medicines, organic, because they are from plants, and they've actually done more damage than good. So I want to relate this to now agroecology, because we are promoting biopesticides and we're promoting biofertilizers. But how do we make sure that those concoctions, when put together, are actually not causing more damage, but are actually causing,
more yields.
Good, to the environment. So I just want to hear some perspectives from the...
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. There is another gentleman there, that one. Your name and your country?
Yes,
we are now global here.
Yes, thank you so much. I am Abdul Serias, the General Secretary for Agroecological Multipurpose Cooperative Society Limited, located in Rwanda, dealing with young people, doing a number of activities, focusing on a vision of creating a strong youth cooperative society. Mine, first and foremost, goes to Agritera, which I've tried to make some research about. It's a cooperative that combines small producer cooperatives like mine. And my question moving forward is, how are we driving regional cooperation? Because one of the things that is hindering young people to intervene into moving our socio-economic transformation in the region is cooperation. Can we assert more effort on that cause? 2, financing. Most of the times when we come to summits like this one, you hear people say from financial institutions that the youth are very risky. Telling them, from where I come from, under objective access to finance, we have tried to partner with some financial institutions like Equity Bank, and they have lended to our youth who have been able to pay back the loans. Moving forward, can we really move this mentality that says young people can't pay, and to financial institutions around? It might not be Shona, but anyone who is in financial institutions. And we are in the development sector. Can we design youth-friendly loans that can enable young people intervene into socio-economic well-being. As I conclude, since this is a regional discussion or summit, can we really enforce unity of the ecosystem? Can we really see that from producer organization like mine in Zimbabwe, that is coordinating young people, to any young agri-tech company which might be around, or to agri-retailer that comes from Netherlands, or to YALTA organizers, can we strengthen the ecosystem of making sure young people, and how are we going to do that? I would like to hear perspectives of the panelists on how are we going to strengthen the ecosystem in the region, how are we going to strengthen the talent and the skill set of young people to be able to reach the accelerating youth-driven ecological business for sustainable food system. Because without food, we have no future. And without young people getting engaged in production of food, trust me, the future is very doubtful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Let's first respond to those, because we don't want it so clogged. The system could actually die out, or we could miss out a couple of things. Let's start from Kenya here. Jen, you had your questions. Can you respond to them?
Yes. I'll first of all start by responding to the lady who asked about how I'm embracing organic farming in my farm. The first thing I would say is that I discovered that I need, first of all, to learn the kind of damage that the pesticides in the market and the insecticides harm the people and the environment. And I started to learn by knowing the pre-harvesting intervals, when you should spray your insecticide before taking the product to the market. And then I did the soil testing. That way I know which nutrients are in my garden or which ones I don't have. Then there is also something like having local herbs. I plant a lot of pepper that you mix with other ingredients and spray your crops in the garden. And then for the chicken, I give them azolla, which helps me to have organically reared chicken. And then I'm also inviting people to my shamba, to my garden, so that they can come and do their testing for bio or organic fertilizers, so that I can have a way of also having bio insecticides and organic insecticides and pesticides. Yeah, I think that is my answer to that.
Okay, thank you so much. There was another question. If you could mute your mic, that Jean can come through.
Thank you so much. I will react to the question asked by the lady from Kenya about the access to finance. The same question was asked by the guy from a youth cooperative.
Zero way.
Yes. I would actually be flabbergasted if they couldn't ask this kind of question, because one of the aching issue of young people in the sector is access to finance. And they always tell you we don't have capital, and if we go to the bank, they always ask collaterals, which we don't have. But he mentioned Agritera. As Agritera and the other initiatives and the other actors in the room, the objective is to find solutions locally. One of the ways we use is to create youth councils that are working under these existing cooperatives. Why these youth groups? Because it can solve that issue of collateral for young people. If you work as a group and you are operating, you can easily request the cooperative you're working under to stand on your behalf when it comes to submitting a business proposal to the financial institutions. So you first need to work as a group, show the potential, invest in some activities that are linked to the core vision of the cooperative, the cooperative. Now, it's one of the way of getting access to finance. And you asked how can we make a regional coordination,
Jean, before you leave that, she raised a very critical issue there. She said the banks request for heavy collaterals, which they don't have. So practicing with the core values, which, you know, in the eyes of the cooperatives are really good, but again, when you're not bankable, you're still not going to get access to credit. That was her challenge there.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think if you ask me now, if you ask me a collateral worth 10,000 euros and I don't have it, what should I do? We should, as young people, also play our role and try to find solutions around us. First of all, do you have the business plan ready? The answer is yes. Did you submit it to the bank and they rejected it? The answer is yes. And why was it rejected? You don't have collateral. But now, why I'm saying we should find other solutions, time has come to look around. How can we partner with the other young people who have already started? Because I'm not sure if we have banks in this room. They could also share with us the stories. But you can partner with existing businesses around you. You can present your business idea to your parents if they can manage, if they can't support you, but don't get discouraged. Just live your dream. Try to keep pushing. You just start small. Don't just necessarily start with a project of worth 1 billion Ugandan shillings. Just start small. And try to cooperate with the existing people in the vicinity of where you are working from.
Thank you so much. Mr. Sembajwe, he had very pertinent questions to you on the other side. Sembajwe, if you could respond to his questions there.
Yes, to start with the issue of finances that someone raised, actually, I have also borrowed from the bank, and I have also borrowed from individuals, but I've grown to love the power of networks, because most of the money I've used in my business, I've succeeded with that I borrow from fellow youth. So what that means is, as youth, we need more discipline, that a fellow youth can be able to believe in what you're doing. And truth be told, of course, we are not all at the same financial level. There are youths who are doing business and have more liquidity than you may be having. So I've borrowed more from my friends who are youth than from the bank, because with banks, they always look at the business plan, which is normally a lengthy process. So networks are more important, and a loan from a friend or from a circle that is within your network is more reliable, especially in terms of being able to explain why your payment has delayed, but also because you're in the same circle, they're able to understand what you're going through business-wise. So it is safer to rely on networks than the banking industry. And that is how I've at least been able to survive with using borrowed money. Then two, on the protein sources, on the farm, I have layer birds. And with layer birds, you would, the best protein source has always been a silverfish. But like I said, agroecology is more of, there is a lot of knowledge out there. And someone talked about the black soldier fly. But you know, with exotic chicken, you do not just give anything. So on the farm, I'm trying to do a trial on whether I can feed these exotic birds on the black soldier fly or the house fly maggots that we have readily available. So it is something I'm working on, and I'm very sure at the end of this, I will be able to tell my fellow youth in the network that I think we have a better option than passing it over and we all land in trouble. So agroecology is a learning experience that we keep adding on daily. And
yeah. All right. There was another question that was sent to Ethiopia. Dugna?
Sure. Let me start from the funding part. When we invested our times for more than 1 year in developing prototype and developing products, and we were working by the resources we have in our universities, in our home, in every chance we got. And fortunately, we got the chance to participate in some competition, and we won, and we got to prototype again in Denmark. But when we go back to our country, we didn't have anything. We have the idea, we have the document, we have everything, but we didn't have money to start on. So we started looking, we worked on our idea, we invested ourselves so much, and we never see information as, you know, we grab information, we see, and we go wherever we want, wherever it's possible to get funding. So after 2 or 3 months with our idea, with our document, we secured a fund to start our business on. So we never have to frustrate on the situation that we are currently facing. If we were just, you know, sitting down and continue only on our education, we could have never gotten here. So we have to look for funds, we have to look for information, because informations are everywhere. We have to look every information, we don't have to be frustrated. So in this way, throughout 1 year, we have secured what we need for now, and we are also working hard for the future. We have already started generating a revenue. From now on, we are scaling. So I want to encourage people, I want to encourage the young to see every chances, to never back information. We have to use information somewhere. We have to use the technology. And also we have faced the process of banks, but even if it's declined, we should develop the products more in order to convince. So I want to encourage not to get frustrated by the situation, because it's everywhere in the world. Every youth faces this challenge, especially the entrepreneurs. And the other question, I think he wants to ask me, where do you find your raw materials? Yeah, we got our raw materials from farmers, from organic producers, organic product producer farmers. That's how we produce. We will be presenting our products tomorrow, so we will for sure tell you in details about the product. But mainly our raw materials are directly from farmers, because we are connecting and working with farmers. So this is how we can not only directly involving, but when we work with the farmers, we are also encouraging agroecology, sustainable farming. So indirectly we are, you know, supporting. We believe we are supporting, and we will continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Digna. Jen, I want to come back to you from the Kenyan perspective. Let's talk about the regional integration, because he raised a very pertinent issue. As a believer in the East African integration, it is something very, very pertinent. How do we complete the ecosystem in terms of skill set exchange, knowledge exchange, and opportunities exchange?
Okay, I would say first of all, because we are already here, we can start by networking. And the first thing we can do is each and every country to have a coalition. Like as YALTA Kenya, we are planning to have one, because it is important to start with your home and then you grow big. Once we do that, like yesterday, we decided to have a global initiative. And from that initiative, I understand we have so many influencers. That way we can come up with a very big coalition. Yeah.
Okay. Let me take it to Rwanda. How do we bring in the region now? Each one of us is going to submit, because he needs to hear commitment on every part of the country and how best we can mitigate this.
Thank you so much. I think in each of our countries we have national youth programs. Like in Rwanda, we have Rwanda Youth in Agribusiness Forum. In Uganda, we have UNFPA, Uganda National Youth Program. And in Kenya, you also have one, I think. So I think it would be nice to organize a kind of regular meetup that brings all the young people that are members of these youth platforms. And then they share experience, and if necessary, they can create something that is cross-regional in a regular basis.
Okay. Sembajwe, regional integration, how do we get there?
Yeah, actually, when we talk about regional integration, I'm very glad that it is the very aspect we are in right now. We have representatives from Kenya and from other countries. So really, I'm very excited that from here, I will of course take an insight from Kenya, an insight from Ethiopia. So basically that is how it works. Those from Kenya will take insights from Uganda, and you can be sure within a few years, what is being done here will be the other side. So it is really a good gesture that YALTA is doing.
Okay. Thank you so much. To those who still have questions, I have just 5 minutes. Just raise up your hand. Where are the mics? Yeah, let's hear from her. Then we hear from him and him. That table has had someone. We have someone on the back. Yeah, let's start with the lady.
Good afternoon. I trust that you're all well. My name is Susan Kinywa. I come from the Mount Kenya region in Kenya, a county we call Nyeri. And mine is to look for best practices. This can be shared by our panelists or anyone else in the room who might have something that we can learn and contextualize back at home. The place where I come from is predominantly coffee and tea. And it's in relation to what he said about the land tenure issues. Is there anyone who has best practice on how we can manage the succession issues? Because if we are talking about inviting or exciting the youth into agroecological businesses, then one of the key resources that they need is land, right? So is there anyone in the room with best practices on how maybe they have programs that have accelerated this or have been geared towards that? My other question is to the panelists or to also anyone else in the room who has any best practices on how we can make farming fashionable for the youth. It is seemed, and I can give the Kenyan context, it is for the poor and people who don't have options. And so it is not looking like it's a very lucrative venture. And then just to give an example of what we have back at home, our education system is geared towards white-collar form of employment. So is there anyone with any best practice how they have made farming look fashionable and trendy that can be an attraction to the youth? Lastly, he talked about, there was a panelist who talked about financial management. So I just want to also know if there's any best practice on how a program or a country has been able to hack the discipline aspect of management. You can have the knowledge, but not have the discipline to follow through to implement what you have learned. And looking at, especially the young budding entrepreneurs, from the first payout, if the amount is quite lump sum, they get lost, easily distracted, and derailed. So you find that they utilize all the money on the non-priority areas and have nothing to plow back. So I just want to learn if there's anyone who has been able to hack on follow-up in terms of managing discipline. Thank you.
Asante. Let's hear from him here.
Thank you. Mine is not a question. I wanted to just supplement on the issue of financing.
Actually, I was going to come to you about something to do with financing, so please just rest a bit. Okay. I'm going to tap on you. Let me talk to the gentleman in the back there.
Thank you, moderator. I'm Dr. Joshua Sefusazake Kangao. I'm a technical and strategic advisor at Regenerate Africa, but also a consultant and scientist on environment and natural resource management, agriculture and climate action. First of all, I'm very happy to see the young people participating and being supported in a progressive way to participate and lead the ambition on agroecology, not only in Uganda, but across the whole region. And certainly the young people have a lot of potential. They just need to be supported. And actually for me, I would say if we are to move this agenda without the young people, the chances are very high that we will lose it. So for me, I'm very happy on that. And I want to commend the YALTA initiative and the partners.
Thank you.
The other one is a point of emphasis. It has been alluded to by the previous speakers because as they were presenting, I suspected that there could be best practices and lessons or for learnings on how they are engaging the young people along this agroecological value chain. Of course, the young people have a lot of expectations and a lot of limitations along the way. So some of them, some of the best practices and lessons, some of the panelists have pointed out, but for me, I would recommend that maybe we need to have a structured way of documenting these, because maybe he has mentioned one or two, but they could be several, on access to finance, on succession, but also meeting the immediate needs of the young people. Somebody has mentioned agroecology needs to be made attractive to the young people, so they could have many needs. But along the way and along the models and approaches that we've listened to from the different countries, there could be also best practices and experiences. So my recommendation is that maybe we need to move a step to recommend these, and this would be good publications for other actors who want to support young people into the value chain, and it will help us to avoid making the same what?
Some
mistakes. And then we just move in the straight direction, and we achieve what we want to achieve.
Asante.
Thank you.
Let me hear from the gentleman, that one in the back there. I think that one is going to be from him. Then I come to Rwanda just once, then we'll wrap it up.
Thank you. I'm Jean de Kwizera from Rwanda.
Hey, you're already from Rwanda?
Yes. It's a question and it's a challenge for everyone here in the room, because I can see from the panel, my point is not represented. It's like a testimony from my homeland. We are as agripreneurs, we are producing different products like fertilizers, agro-processing products. And I don't know in your countries, but in Rwanda, we are very strict on the quality and the standards. So
here we are very strict too.
So you find when you may even qualify for the standards, if you are doing your best to qualify for the standards, you see what you are doing is not backed by science. There are not enough scientific information available. So researchers are not in the area of what we are doing as agroecologists. And for that, there are no available codes of standards. You find that, for example, I want to produce bee propolis because I'm a beekeeper. But if I go to sell bee propolis and there are no available codes or standards, it will be a challenge for me to sell that product which is not legal, known. I'll be like doing some smuggling. So I would like to challenge everyone over here to look for the advocates or to involve in this science, research, and the definitions of codes, just to help the youth to have their products to the market, because standardization is a problem, and that's why I don't have my honey and my propolis here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go to the back. We're coming back to Rwanda briefly. Let's first go on the other side. Yes, Indugu.
Okay, thank you so much, moderator. By the name Robert Guloba, and I work with PELUM Uganda. I want to respond to a question that was raised by some lady, I don't recall her name, but she was talking about indigenous knowledge and research. I want to agree with her that we need to integrate indigenous knowledge with research. To begin with, something to be labeled indigenous or traditional must have been in existence for some time. However, I would give an example when COVID-19 came. Each plant that somebody came across was medicine. But that plant maybe was discovered during times of COVID. We can't label that indigenous. Something must have been there, must have been used by people for quite some time. And these people, they use trial and error. However, we lack documentation. So when we are looking at indigenous knowledge, documentation is lacking. So the question would be, how do we support our indigenous people to document whatever they are doing, to document whatever they are saying that works, such that in one way or the other, we are able to validate the information they have. But also, this information must be proven scientifically, because in their own indigenous knowledge, it works. But we may not have the scientific explanation what is making this indigenous knowledge work. So I still agree that integration of research and indigenous knowledge is really, really paramount. Then also, the other thing that is a big challenge is the allocation of resources. We would really love to do a lot of research with these people, but resources aren't enough. So we shall be talking more about indigenous knowledge and research during the breakaway sessions, and we shall have more discussions. Thank you for now.
That would be very grateful. Round of applause for that. I think that was a lot more clear. I have only 2 minutes to wrap this up. Let's bring the microphone back here. Mandela can respond to the issue of finance and access to credit. The microphone, please, to Mandela here.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, so I've had a lot of, and this is usual discussion when you meet entrepreneurs. Finance is always a challenge. And I think we always blame the banks because they ask for collateral. But I think we need to be fair to them because the reason they ask for collateral is because in most cases they have no way of assessing your risk. And for them to protect themselves, of course, they'll ask for collateral. But I think the good news is that increasingly we are seeing banks trying to find alternative ways to deliver credit without collateral. And right now, if you actually have good turnover that is actually passing through the bank, we are seeing them give more and more offers. I actually had a message here because I'm a signatory to a bank account run by a startup. They have traded, they are doing grains, and they have done trade for about 2 months. And recently they got an offer to borrow 100 million Uganda million shillings without any form of collateral. And this is Stanbic Bank. Andrew will read this message at some point. I think what I would like to encourage us is to make sure we focus on building good businesses and show that traction. Because if you show that traction, if the bank is seeing that turnover, right? And you can't have a conversation with them, I can assure you, they may not give you a lot of money, but there will be that incremental sort of lending that they can do. But that can only happen if you actually have a viable business that is running and that whatever sale you're making can actually be traced on your bank account. That's how banks operate, and I don't think they're about to change.
Okay.
That said, there are alternatives that are coming up. And like a panelist talked about, we just need to find information, right, on where these alternatives are. Like I talked about Shona Capital, we're actually doing lending. This year we've done about 17 loans. And the good news is that next year we are working with our partners to develop and launch an agroecological revolving loan fund that will be giving loans from $1,000 all the way to $50,000. That will be launching next year. So these alternatives are coming up, but even with that alternative, I will not give you money until I see that you actually have a viable business that has a customer base that can grow and has potential, right? And so there has to be value. There is nobody that is going to give you free money when they do not see value.
Thank you so much, Mandela. I'm going to read this message. It comes from Stanbic Bank. As a journalist, I had to first go back and check whether he's the one who typed it, but it's from Stanbic. So it says that, Dear Dero, did you know that you qualify for a loan of up to 100 million? To access these funds, you only have to provide your financial card, and you call this number today. That's all you need.
And
a
Barry,
financial card.
they have been calling the founder. You know,
Mm.
I happened to get that message because one of my contacts there.
Mm.
But they have been calling him, encouraging him to go, and he says, "I don't need the money." So it's not just a message; it's a real
Call.
right?
Wow. Round of applause to Mandela. Thank you so much. And we are hoping that when the financial loans fund opens up, we are all bankable. So friends, I think to wrap this all up, it all goes back to one thing. Can we just get compliant? Can we just get organized? Can we be bankable if we're going to practice agroecological businesses? And above all, can we be open-minded? Because Adugna said that agroecological, it's entirely about sharing ideas. The more you share, the more you get. And as such, up at the upper deck, we have some exhibitions. While we are having our lunch breaks, you're going to go up there, and we are going to see a couple of networking. From the regional perspective, the gentleman from Zirowe, this is my thinking. While we are here, I don't see a reason why all Kenyans are seated here, Rwandese are seated there, Ugandans are... We need to mix, Sindio. We need to interact. The next sessions when we are sitting, I want to see one Kenyan, two Ugandan, one Ethiopian. We need to interact. Until we disrupt our comfort zones, we are not going to network. Then to the policymakers who are here, I think it's incumbent on you to expedite the regional frameworks that bring us together. These things of politicking, back and forth, if they're taking long, Jean, we take the initiative as the youth here, we compose ourselves and we make our communique and we move in that direction. Sindio? So in the next agenda, when we come, be it tomorrow, please don't sit with someone you came with. Okay? Because now we're trying to do the regional integration, like the guy from Zirowe. So I'm using the simplest models next to us. He said we find our solutions. So tomorrow you come, you sit next to someone you didn't come with. And you start to share ideas. You disrupt that. That way, we are going to be in position to align with the regional integration of skills, knowledge sharing, and opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, let's clap for our panelists. They have been remarkably great. I can't thank you enough. And according to the time, it's just 4 minutes to 1 p.m. And this session was to end at 1 p.m. I love time. Let's clap for ourselves. You have been great time managers. And let's clap for them as they're going off. You represented quite many. Yeah, region, you see. So Jean says, in case you feel there were some answers you didn't get adequately, we are still around. And I hope Jean is not going to be seated on his table where he came from. He will sit on another table. We're going to be You go to Kenya, Kasarani, give him some space there. Ndio. That is the energy. Let's clap for him. Rwanda, and that's how you make us look bad every time. You're very fast. But regardless, friends, I want to invite you to our lunch session. We are going to have lunch, and it's only going to take us 1 hour. And thereafter, we shall return to the next sessions in the afternoon. We are going to have another panel. And after that panel, we shall go for the breakout sessions. And those sessions will inform us something to do with the market access, adoption of the AE principles, and creating a conducive environment for all this. But while you're having your lunch, I challenge you to sit with someone from another country. While you're having lunch, I challenge you to get at least 2 contacts, 2 email addresses, follow someone on Twitter, just to make sure that we integrate this conversation. So we are taking a break for lunch. It's exactly a few minutes to 1. At exactly 2, we're going to return for the next session. Good afternoon. The lunch is going to be guided. We are going to have a serving points, I think, in the back. Can I have someone from PELUM to guide us on where we're going to have a lunch from? It's in the back. Okay. Is the microphone somewhere there? Ruth? Okay, Ruth is coming. Someone with a mic, please avail it to Ruth there. Okay.
We shall have lunch at the restaurant. You just use this path back here, but you have to pick a coupon from the table here. you'll find Max, he will give you a pink coupon for you to have lunch.
Yeah. We are all voters. Go get your voter ID, then you go vote. See you there.